quite nice. A bit of Latin funk for you. Doesn't sound very Latin though, but the rest of the album does. Roberto Rowena and Su Apollo Sound. This is their first album. Highly sought after. Managed to get it on eBay for a song, but it's pretty crackly. But really nice stuff on here. They're very much known as a Latin group with a very much a funky sensibility. So there's a nice version of Sly and the Family Stone on here, and there's other good stuff. Spinning Wheel, they do a version of that, and a very amusing version of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, which they've translated here in Spanish. I don't know if you can see that. It says El Pato de la Bahía. El Pato means the duck, so they've mistranslated it as Sitting on the Duck of the Bay. An interesting idea. Anyway, it's actually sung in English, but there's actually really good salsa tunes on here as well. The big tune, Y tu loco loco, y yo tranquilo. Really good opening song. So yeah, bringing the funk, as is the new rallying cry. So what do we got? I thought I'd make a video. Apologies, the house is in complete disarray at the moment, hence the slightly different camera angle. Doing some work at the moment, so a few changes in the air. Let's keep it funky then. The OJs. Everybody knows the OJs and their big hits. They might not know this one. This is the OJs, this one, 79 is it? Probably, no, 82. 82. Doesn't look very promising. A lot of great soul groups in the 80s, they kind of lose their thing a bit, but this album, it's not really great, but it has possibly my favourite OJ song on it. My favourite OJ song for many reasons. Firstly, because it's very funky and cheerful, tuneful in that Philadelphia soul way. My favourite person. It also has hilarious lyrics in an earnest, well-meaning kind of way. But yeah, really, really nice. I love this tune. Check it out. My Favourite Person by the OJs. I'll put a needle drop of that one on. Craig from the Vinyl Record Player. A Big Jerry moment for you. Well, not quite. This is actually Little Jerry, or more to the point, Big Jerry's little brother. This is Billy Butler, little brother of Jerry Butler. And this is the album Sugar Candy Lady, which has a few tunes on it. Sugar Candy Lady, quite sort of a nice funky disco song. Play My Music, it's a good one as well. Nice sort of funky, bit more sort of funky soul tune, really nice. Not a brilliant album, but you know, there's the Jerry connection anyway, on Curtain Records, which is usually a good sign. So that's one worth investigating if you don't know it. What else? Okay, yeah. I haven't been listening to much music the last week or so because the house is all a complete mess. Yeah, I've just taken up the dust covers and sheets, and there's dust everywhere, so I'm not sure if it's a very good idea to play records. But before all the work started, I was listening to a lot of stuff, and I decided to have a bit of an explore of this album. It's very easy to forget about this album. It's actually the last Marvin Gaye album, I think, and I don't know if it was sort of put together as a bit of a hodgepodge of things that he had left over at the time. It's a very mixed bag, but when it's good, this album is absolutely phenomenal. Marvin Gaye, Dream of a Lifetime. So there's lots of in the blurb about how he'd recently passed away in 1985. I've got here when it was actually released. Now the first side, as you can see with the before they had parental advisory lyrics, it has a sticker here saying this album contains lyrical content that may be considered offensive to some listeners. Well, offensive in the sense that if you think listening to Marvin Gaye putting on a very strange English accent and talking about sadomasochism is offensive, fair enough. More than offensive, I'd say it's very, very strange. But yeah, that first side, I tend to kind of not play that one very often. Savage in the Sack, an interesting exploration of the dark recesses of Marvin Gaye's mind, perhaps. It's the English accent that's most horrific, though, I have to say. Anyway, the second side Really nice here. It's just some great, Marvin music sometimes it's uniquely his music. No one else would make music. It's beyond soul music. And I think you get that on things like Symphony and Life's Opera. Really, really Marvin, just doing 100% Marvin. So not a difficult record to find, I think, and not an expensive record to find. So 15, I think I got this in Spain, 1,500 pesetas. That would have cost a long time ago. Long time ago. Keeping it funky. Okay, here's a really unfunky record. I'll take it out the sleeve. An unfunky record, Escale Party, Air France. Apparently this record was distributed to first-class passengers on Air France in the 70s, and you can definitely tell this is the 70s. It doesn't actually have a date on it that I can see. And it takes you on an enchanting tour around the world. Let's see, we start off in France, go through Brazil, then to United States, Canada, to Britain, Finland, Scandinavia, then the USSR, the Far East, the Middle East, Greece, Africa, Spain, Switzerland, and you get music inspired by all of those places. But there's obviously a lot more to that, and there's two reasons why this is great. The first one is a lot of it is produced by the French arranger and producer Daniel Janin, who has a very funky sound, and his records are actually quite sought after. It's actually got some other quite big names I can see in Vladimir Cosma, sort of French soundtrack people. I have to say a lot of it is unplayable and pretty forgettable unless you like accordions and polka dances and things like that. But the big draw on this record is the incredible Hurt So Bad, produced by Daniel Janin and sung by Nancy Holloway, somebody who's, I've shown a lot of records by Nancy Holloway. She doesn't have many good ones, but this one is one. I mean, perhaps a bit of an extravagant purchase for one song, basically, although some of the instrumental soundtracky bits are quite interesting as well. But a nice thing to have, I guess, if a little extravagant. But I didn't pay too much for it, so I'm okay with that. Funky stuff. Oh, a nice reissue on 7. I know most people don't seem to care for 7 inches here, but this has just been reissued on Motherlode Records, and this is by a group called Stratus. And the song you want is not Wild Woman, it's called Girl. Beautiful. They're kind of like a pop band from the 70s sometime with that very kind of pop sound. But this song, Girl, with its funky drumming in the background, really nice, jazzy, breezy song. Lovely. I never thought I'd get a copy of this. I remember discovering on YouTube a long time ago and thinking it was great, and now somebody's re-released it. So that's really good, because the original's silly money. How are we doing for time? Pretty good. I was just listening to some Curtis. Again, keeping with the funkiness. I've shown this record before. But it's nice to find a song on a Curtis record that isn't perhaps well known, but is just amazing. Cannot Find a Way. Check that out. Curiously, on the album called Got to Find a Way, the song Cannot Find a Way, that is the tune, which you may not know, but I thoroughly recommend it. I actually sold a whole load of records yesterday, so I've got some more record spending money to look forward to getting rid of. But I also exchanged a lot of them for this, which is a hip-hop record which came out in 2003, so it's actually 20 years old, and it was sealed. I opened it, and I'll spare you the excitement of me opening it in my video. It wasn't that exciting an event, but there it is. An interesting record. This came out a bit too late, I think. Although it was Danger Mouse who was making big waves at that time in the early 2000s. Gemini, the rapper, is quite very 90s sounding, and the whole thing sounds like it should have come out 5 years earlier, or maybe even before then. But when it's good, it's really good. So some of the lyrics might sound a bit dated now, but I think it's an interesting album. I remember when this came out, it was a really, really big thing. I remember a lot of my hip hop friends, this was like a big thing. But I guess because it had that slightly retro element to it. But yeah, I think for me, this was like one of the last hip hop albums that I was really interested in. It was a bit about that time when I stopped listening to hip hop altogether. But yeah, there's some really nice stuff on there. So if you like that, why not? Apparently this goes for stupid money these days. I got it as part of an exchange, so it didn't cost me anything really. Certainly didn't feel like it, so I'm quite pleased about that. Anyway, I'm wittering. Keep it funky. Until next time.
Standing